If heartbreak had a capital city, it would be New York. And if betrayal had a face, it would still be the man who kissed me under the Brooklyn Bridge and then vanished like I was nothing more than a stranger passing through his night. The city never sleeps, they say. But I did curled up in an apartment too small for my dreams, trying to suffocate the ghost of him from my chest. That's the cruel irony of New York. It dazzles you with promises, then breaks you in ways only neon lights can witness. His name was Adrian. And God, wasn't he beautiful? The kind of beautiful that makes waiters forget your order and leaves strangers staring too long on the subway. But Adrian was also reckless, a storm in human skin. And when he walked out of my life 2 years ago without so much as a note, he took with him not just my trust but my ability to believe in love. Until last night, I was rushing out of the gallery, rain soaking through my shirt, when I saw him, standing under the marquee lights, rain dripping from his hair, eyes burning like he had carried 2 years of regret in them. He didn't speak right away. He just looked at me as if I was the last safe place in this city. Eli, he whispered finally. My name fell from his lips like a prayer, and I hated that it still made my knees weak. I wish I could tell you I turned away, that I laughed in his face, told him he was nothing but a ghost from a past I'd buried. But the truth is my body betrayed me. My chest tightened, my throat closed, and I just stood there, trembling with all the words I had rehearsed but could never say. He stepped closer, too close. The city melted around us, traffic and sirens blurring into silence. I made the biggest mistake of my life, Adrian said, his voice breaking, and I've thought about you every damn day since. The audacity, the sheer arrogance of him to appear out of nowhere, as if time hadn't carved scars across my chest. But the worst part? I still wanted him. New York looked different when you were holding on to heartbreak. Streets that once felt alive now seemed like reminders. The coffee shop where we first met him spilling cappuccino foam all over his expensive shirt and laughing like it was the best thing that had ever happened now felt haunted. The bookstore where he kissed me in the poetry aisle was a graveyard of memories I couldn't read anymore. And yet, standing in the rain with him again, it was like those places whispered, maybe, just maybe, love deserves another chance. But could I trust him? Could I hand him the pieces of my heart when he had shattered them once before? I wanted to scream. I wanted to cry. Instead, I did the most New Yorker thing imaginable. I shrugged and said, "You owe me coffee." For the first time in years, Adrian laughed. Not the loud, careless laugh I remembered, but a softer one, a fragile, desperate laugh that felt like it was stitched together with hope. So here we were, sitting across from each other in the very same cafe where everything had begun. His eyes never left mine, even when the barista rolled her eyes at us for taking too long to order. And I hated that every glance, every smirk, every stupid nervous twitch of his hands felt like home. "You look stronger," Adrian said quietly, stirring his untouched coffee. "Like the world tried to break you and you told it to fuck off." "You're not wrong," I replied, though my voice trembled. He reached across the table then. His hand hovered, unsure, until I let my fingers brush his. A spark, a reminder, a danger. "Eli, I'm not asking you to forgive me tonight," he whispered. "I'm asking you to let me prove I'm not the man who left you." I pulled my hand back before my heart could betray me. Words are cheap, Adrian. New York taught me that. But deep down, I knew this was only the beginning. And beginnings in this city were never simple. They were messy, they were dangerous, and sometimes, if you were lucky, they were worth the risk. The silence between us stretched like a taut wire ready to snap. Outside, New York kept pulsing, alive with taxi horns, laughter, and the faint rhythm of music leaking from bars. But inside that cafe, the air was heavier, full of words unsaid. I wanted to run. God, I wanted to storm out and never let him touch me again. But the truth? My body stayed rooted in that seat because some foolish, fragile part of me still ached for the boy who once held my heart. 2 years ago, Adrian had left me without warning. One morning we were tangled in bed sheets, whispering about future road trips and someday apartments. The next, he was gone. I thought I'd imagined it, that maybe I'd dreamed the months we spent together. But the half-burned Polaroids shoved in my drawer told me otherwise. He was real. He had loved me or something close to it, and then he'd walked away. Why now? I asked, my voice quieter than I intended. His jaw tightened. Because I was scared. Because I thought I didn't deserve you. And leaving felt easier than watching myself fail you. I laughed, bitter and sharp. So you decided to fail me by disappearing instead? Adrian's face crumpled. I know I don't deserve a second chance. But Eli, I'm here. I'm not running again. Please, let me try to love you the way I should have from the start. His words cracked something inside me. Not the scars, those were too deep, but the stubborn ice I'd wrapped around myself. And suddenly, I hated him for making me feel alive again. I pushed my chair back, the legs scraping the floor. I can't do this. Not tonight. I left him sitting there, rain still dripping from his hair, coffee untouched, eyes following me out the door. The days that followed were torture. Every corner of the city carried his shadow. On the subway, I swore I smelled his cologne on a stranger. On the Brooklyn Bridge, I remembered how he had once kissed me until I forgot the world. Even in my tiny apartment, I could almost hear him humming out of tune while making pancakes on Sunday mornings. New York is cruel like that. It doesn't let you forget. One night, after too many sleepless hours staring at my ceiling, I found myself walking through the city streets, no destination in mind. And somehow, as if the city itself had pulled me there, I ended up outside Adrian's apartment. I didn't knock. I didn't even go inside. I just stood there, staring at the building like maybe the bricks themselves held the answers. And then I heard his voice. Eli? He was standing in the doorway, barefoot, wearing an old t-shirt that looked too soft to be real. His eyes were raw, tired, but there was a flicker of hope in them that nearly undid me. Do you always haunt people's doorsteps at midnight? He asked gently. I shook my head. I don't even know why I'm here. Yes, you do. Goddamn him. He was right. He stepped closer. Come inside. Just sit with me. No expectations. No promises. Just two people who used to love each other, trying to remember how to breathe. So I did. Inside, his apartment was nothing like I expected. Messy, lived in, cluttered with books and sketches scattered across the coffee table. Not the polished, cold space I remembered from before. It was human. He handed me a glass of water, his fingers brushing mine in a way that sent shivers racing up my arm. I kept thinking about the way you laughed, he said suddenly, how it sounded like sunlight, and how I destroyed the one thing that ever made me feel safe. I stared at him, my throat tight. You broke me, Adrian. I know. His voice cracked. And I've hated myself for it every day. But I want to build something new with you. Something stronger. If you'll let me. My eyes burned. I wanted to say no. I wanted to protect myself. But looking at him, I saw not just the boy who left me, but the man who had returned shaken, scarred, but fighting for redemption. So instead of words, I let silence speak. I stepped closer, placed my hand against his chest, feeling his heart thunder beneath my palm. His breath hitched. Don't make me regret this, I whispered. I won't, he swore, his voice raw with conviction. And then, for the first time in 2 years, his lips found mine again. It wasn't the same as before. It wasn't reckless or hungry. It was fragile, trembling, desperate, like two broken people stitching themselves back together with a kiss. When we finally pulled apart, my forehead rested against his, both of us shaking. Stay, he whispered, and for the first time in years I did. The weeks that followed weren't perfect. We fought. We cried. Sometimes the weight of our past nearly crushed us. But little by little, trust began to weave itself back between us. He showed up not just in words, but in actions. He listened when I spoke, he stayed when things got hard, and he never let me feel like I was waiting for him to vanish again. Love, I realized, wasn't about perfection. It was about choosing each other again and again, even when it hurt, especially when it hurt. One evening, we found ourselves back at the Brooklyn Bridge. The The same place where he had once kissed me and the same place where my heart had first learned betrayal. The city lights glittered across the water, casting us in gold. Adrian took my hand. His eyes were steady, clear. I can't change the past, Eli, but I can promise you this: every day from now on, I'll choose you. Even when it's messy, even when it's hard, especially then. For the first time, I believed him. I smiled through tears. You already have. And as the city roared around us, I kissed him. Not because I needed him to fix me, but because somewhere between heartbreak and healing, I had found the courage to love again. And this time, I wasn't letting go. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe to stay updated with the latest videos.